handle authentication, right? So we get a token, an authentication token from AWS Cognito, the AWS identity provider, white label identity provider, if you want to say so. And yeah, we can actually verify that this is really something that we can trust here in the backend, and then we can look at the details that are listed in the token, JSON Web Token JWT, and do something with it, because you don't just give it, but usually you want to authenticate or authorize specific actions on the API. And we did kind of have a very, very, very small proof of concept, I think, so this is a GraphQL API actually. We somewhere have, I think it's T entity, T module, maybe? Probably in the entity. Yeah. Or in the, do we have a DTO separate? Yes, we do. Yeah, there we go. Inside of here, we actually receive the context, and on that context, we have the user, as you might have seen it in Express.js, request.user basically. And on that, we have a property which comes actually from the JWT. And now there could be more, for example, the roles, and depending on which roles you have, you authorize now specific things, and so on and so on. We can do a lot with that. What's important, I haven't found the time, unfortunately, to get into that more deeply, is how we actually get those properties. There are some that are already there on the user. So if we take a look at this, we already have all of these properties, but not all of them are actually useful. Oh, we have most of these, let's say. We have most of these, but not all of them are actually useful. I mean, expiry is useful, but only until we know it's not expired. Okay. The issuer is also not really useful, and only at the time of where we decide whether we can trust the token. So the fun stuff is actually missing probably from those tokens, and we have to find a way in Cognito probably to set those somehow. So far we can, however, already tell whether a user is a specific user. And if we have something that depends on that specific user, for example, an order, we can do something with it. So maybe let's do something fun instead of going through the to-dos today. So let's do a kind of order module. Orders of P of a specific user. So inside of my Trello board here, let's maybe scratch out what this is supposed to mean. So there's a user, kind of a user story that I'm now writing. If you haven't heard of that, one of the most useful tools in agile development. For product development. So I am a role, I'm a specific person that uses our application. So since we're kind of building a tea shop, I say I am the customer. So, and I want to see I want to make an order of teas. How should such an, so what that's the what do I want, and why do I want that, so that I can get tea for So I can drink tea at home. Something like that. So that the tea gets delivered to me and I can drink tea at home. So that's the basic user story. Maybe even write this on top of it, user story. Now, what are the steps to get there, or the large level, high level to-dos? Probably. So we want to create an order. So create order. Or how does an order look like from a perspective of the user, maybe? How does an order look like? So it probably has some identifier with the user. How do I write this? Maybe like this, string. So it has a user. It has, what else does an order have? It has a list of teas, or ordered teas. And then the list of ordered teas looks like the following. Each ordered items. Maybe an order item array. And then the order item itself looks as follows. It has a product ID, contains the product in it, specified via an ID. It also has, what else? It has a quantity, probably. Maybe a price at time of purchase. Maybe up here the order has a total price, which is a number. Anything else that we need? Probably here you would also have some delivery address. Adresse. Let me double check the wording. Delivery address. Something like that. And pretty much that's it for the time being. So leave out for now, maybe. The delivery address, we can add that later. Oh, that didn't work. Why not? Okay. Okay, so in practice, this looks then like there's a user ID or relation to the user. Probably many to one, one to many. I'm always confusing those two. Then an order item, array. Arrays are difficult in Postgres, at least. Currently, I think we're even using not NoSQL, we're using SQLite. But anyway, that should be fine. And then I want to have an API where I can get exactly those orders of a specific person. That's what I want to display in particular. I want to have an API where I get the stuff of the specific person, because then the authorization becomes active. So let's step right in, and we maybe am I in the right directory? I am. So yarn nest generate me a resource, I think. and it should be called orders. Like that. Does that work? So we have a code first GraphQL transport layer. Would you like to generate CRUD entry points? I probably don't, because all of that is hopefully taken care of by NestJS query. I think we can actually get rid of most of this now that I think about it. This and this and this and this. Actually, all of these go away. We only have the following. So TTO, probably, and an entity. Entities. Okay, so entities. This is going to be an order.ts, and then we say export class order go, and this becomes an entity by us writing this on top of it. Don't think we need to provide a name, but maybe we want to. Database, blah, 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 schema, synchronize without row ID. Okay. Do we do that on top of the T's currently? I don't think we do. No, we don't. So I suppose, let me just take a, do we not have any migrations currently? Oh, we're even in the phase where we don't even have a migration. Okay, that's fine. We should remove this then. Now, what does an order have? It has an ID, exactly. It has, oops, probably, it probably has a user relation, which is probably a user. Can I import you? No, I cannot. Ah, we don't have users just yet. We do not have users just yet. So for the time being, this is just going to be a string. To create user. Wait, we do have the user ID. We do have the user ID, and it's given to us from Cognito. So comes from Cognito. We also want to have, oh, there's probably a status indeed, delivery status. We can, I think, extend the base entity here, extends base entity. And things get slightly easier. What else do we want? What do we say? We said total price, which is a number. Wait, is it a number? It's only a number if you don't include any. Yeah, let's just say in euro. Probably want to add this here. In euro. User ID, sub, coming from Cognito. Total price. What else do we have? The actual the order items. Items. It's going to be more interesting because now it's going to be a relation order item array. Now, this is perfectly great TypeScript, but we have to tell the framework that these are actually mapped to, for example, SQLite instances or Postgres instances. So the way we do that is by using the corresponding decorators. And I think it's at column. And then we can say something like, in this case, it's actually at primary generated column. And maybe a UUID instead of a number. So this becomes a string. Then the user ID, it comes from Cognito, perfect. This is just going to be a column of strings. Then we have the status at column. So this is probably going to be an enum, huh? I suppose. We have a specific set of enum order status, which is created, paid, shipped, and delivered. Or cancelled is also very good. Delivered or completed. Filled. I think we typically say filled. Now let's change these into proper TypeScript. Paid, shipped, cancelled, filled. This is actually describing a state machine, if you think about it. Shipped, cancelled, and filled. We actually have a state machine where we start in the created status, then the customer does actual payment, then we ship the goods, and then finally we have filled. Let's, for the sake of simplicity, we do not allow kind of partial shipping and so on. I think that makes it easier for us. So basically, the way this goes is from top to bottom. And however, at every point, oh, there's a double D. At every point, the user can actually cancel, except for when it is actually already filled. It might also be something like reverted, but let's ignore that for now. Let's not make things more complicated than they are already. Now, where's the status? There it is. Now, I think we can do this. What to do this down. Okay. Yep. I think we can actually do this, and then now it's good. Then yeah, in a real use case, you might actually want to have the history of status changes as well. So that might be something that you also want. But for now, I think we're good. We're good. This is in euros, so we can just say this is a column of numbers. Probably number, I suppose. With this, we might actually get into trouble in just a minute. And now this is a add one to many, many to many. One to many to one. Which one is it? I always confuse the direction. Okay, probably one too many. One too many. Order item. is what gets created. Order item maps to order item.order. That looks correctish. Now the thing is, order item doesn't exist. So what we want to do is we want to create it instead of entities actually. And then we say order item.ts. And we now do pretty much the same. So export class order item. Oops. This is pretty much a reference to a AT. And that's it. No. Excuse me. Pick up here. So this is definitely a product ID. Yeah, we can call it product ID, so it stays general. It's most likely a string. Keys. We don't persist. Wait. I'm in the wrong one. Yeah, that works. Perfect. Oh, and price can actually be a float. Good to know. Very good to know. Actually, this is a derived value, right? So we don't want to persist it. We just want to calculate it. Something like get total price is a function which does the following. It says this dot. Why do you not like this? There. This one. This dot items dot use accumulator plus b times total price, comma 0. Sounds about right. And inside of each order item, which we have not imported yet, we can say, okay, give me the total price of this order item, which is then this dot. No, this is not this dot. It is a return. This dot quantity times unit price. So it's just price. Is unit price more? Is that clearer? Probably it is, huh? Yeah. Let's say unit price. Yeah. So we have unit price, which is a number, and we know it's a column of float. We have a column for the quantity, and we have a reference to the actual product. Question is, do we actually want to have a direct reference here, or do we just want to have the ID? ID, not idea. That's the question that I have. Well, at the very least, we need a primary generated column again, UID, which is the ID of this one. Now for you, my friend. Do we just reference the other one? I don't think that's a good idea. Let's just say we have the product ID duplicated instead. And if we need to, so I'm thinking about how do we reference the data. So maybe the better way would have been to write the DTO order.to.ts. Okay, apparently we rewrite small letters. This one too. And I think we call this one .entity.ts, and order item becomes order minus item dot entity.ts. Okay. All right. So that's out of the way. We do need the reference, of course, to the order, which is an order. This is an order, and here it is now the inverse of what we have here. So it's many to one type order, and on the order we have imported from next door, and on the order we have the dot items to get the many. All right. Now you are a get, so you need to return something. Very good. You can be up there. This we can also say here. This is in euro for the time being, and this one as well. Yep. So the order DTO. Now we export a class of order DTO, which has to extend something, and I think it's object type. Is that correct? I think that's it. Let's check the. Yeah, that's it. So let's call this order instead. So that it would take the name of the class, but then it would match DTO here, which is annoying. We don't want that. And you should pretty much have the stuff that we have here, right? Or something like that. So an ID, a user ID. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting. So this one is easy. Come on, add field. It is an ID. That one was easy. Now user ID is already getting more complicated, so let's skip it for just a second. Let's make this one a field. It is an order status. And now one important thing here to do with NestJS query is that get started. The get started button doesn't look like a button. It's confusing me. Okay, this is nicer for your eyes, I hope, as well. Now, what do we want? We want to have an enum. Do we have an enum inside of here? No. Do we have an enum inside of here? No. Queries, query service. Do we have an enum here? No. Come on, there's gotta be an enum. NestJS GraphQL enum. Because there's one specific command that you have to have: create union type, create enum type, or something like that. Enum. There we go. So we have this enum, and then we need to register it. That's it. So if we go to order status for just a second, I think it's currently here, which is not ideal. we do want to export you, and then we move this fun stuff into another class. I suppose it's on here. Order status.enum.ts, I suppose. Save. We import register enum and then order status. So what's the problem here? Why do we have to do this? I mean, doesn't this suffice? The problem is that, well, this is a nice and happy object at runtime. But that doesn't mean that GraphQL actually knows about it. In particular, it doesn't know about it. I mean, there's probably a way to also do that via, or maybe there is a way to do that via something like this, yeah? Register enum. Maybe there's even a type like that, but I don't think there is. Oh, and in fact, you cannot decorate an enum in TypeScript. That's something to be aware of. So we have to somehow tell the GraphQL schema generation that it should create something from this enum. And the way we do this is with the help of this here. So if I now start the service, it hopefully, we have a schema already? No, we don't. That's it. Okay, currently we have errors. Remove those. Errors. We don't need you. What we do need is, I think, something like this here. Inside of imports, a NestJS query GraphQL module and a NestJS query type ORM module for orders and for order item. And then we also have a DTO class, which is the order DTO, and we have an entity class, which is the order. And then we save everything, we put a comma up there, and now things should hopefully look different, at least ever so slightly. Not quite. This is not a module. Do we not export something? Ah, because it's still broken. Okay, that makes sense. So we have this one registered, so we can now import it. Order items is interesting. How do we do that one? At relation, huh? So inside of here, we can look at, we have relations here. There we go. Something like this. At relation, coming from NestJS query GraphQL. And this one maps to an order item DTO then, which we have to write. And this one then becomes an order item DTO, I suppose. Interesting. Oh, we don't even write this, I suppose. That's okay, I suppose. Signee ID, filter only true. So something like user ID here, maybe? Yeah, no. Order item ID. And then this one needs to probably match that one. We need to write the order item DTO. So how are you doing? Have you worked with GraphQL before? Or have you worked with NestJS before? Or have you worked with TypeScript before? Or maybe you've worked with JavaScript before. So let me know what you have been up to. I'm very curious. Yes, Mace, how are you doing? Good to see you. Cheers to you. Yeah, I know you're a pro. Good to see you. Were you able to follow of what we are trying to do inside of here? I'm blushing. You don't have to. It's true. So, what we are doing is basically write the backend for a T shop. You don't have a clue. Very good. We write the backend for a T shop. This one needs to go away, I think. And what we are using to do so is, on the one hand, NestJS, one of my favorite frameworks, backend frameworks. Particular because the TypeScript stuff is the TypeScript support is so good. In fact, it's first class, so everything is written in TypeScript. We are also using GraphQL at this point. GraphQL being one of the alternatives to REST APIs. So, and you will see in a minute maybe how that looks like as soon as we have it running again. You wanted to see some GraphQL anyway. Great! Then this is perfect for you. We have to get this running just now, though, before we can actually continue. I do think we can just say add field here, and then this is an ID, I suppose. Can get rid of that comment. No need for it. Let me just check git ignore here for a second. Where the schema here? Ah, okay, that's why. Yeah. Aha, there it is. That's why. Type T. Oh, we probably want to change that. So make this one into a capital T. And as soon as everything runs again, it should be good. Don't need you, we don't need you. I do need you, and yeah, so it might take a minute. It might take a minute until we get to the point where this is running again. I probably have done a bit too much in one, or tried to do too much in one go. So the order item DTO, we can take a look at the database entity. Apparently this is missing the import. So I can most likely copy all of this over to here and change things ever so slightly. So, wait, I'm in the wrong one. I looked at the order, not at the order item. I want you. So this here becomes add field. So with the help of add field, we are basically telling the API, please expose this. So this becomes an ID, product ID, field, again also an open ID. I'm not 100% sure, maybe it's just a string. This one is add field float. Is there a float? GraphQL float. Basic types. There is a float type, so this should exist. Yeah, there it is. Okay, perfect. Add field. The quantity is a number, but it's an integer number, so we can actually say this in int. So basically it's a completely different language, and we have to now, this provides these ones. Add field just says expose it on the API, and then we tell, because it's a change of language from JavaScript or TypeScript to GraphQL, it has to somehow map the types. And what we do here is actually do the type mapping explicitly, or tell it how it should map. For example, a basic number, unit price, should be mapped to a float type in GraphQL. The quantity, however, even though it's in JavaScript, it's the same number type. There's, by the way, a big int type. I am not yet using it, to be honest. This one, because we know it from our business perspective, from our developer knowledge, we know this is always an integer. We map it actually to the GraphQL type int. And this one we actually don't do, we just ignore it. Okay, hopefully this runs again. Then we can start looking at it, hopefully. So, we are unauthorized currently. This is now going to be interesting, because we have to somehow get this freaking token working again. Ignore expiration false. Okay. So, give it a moment. it might take a moment now for us to get into a ready state again. You don't like this? Okay, I see. This is partially Fürsorge music. It is. It is indeed. It's from the. Is it Ringo Moon? Was that his name? So all of the music that you hear is from Open Game Art. Not from Rubber Duck, but instead from... Is that his name? No, it's not. Let me see. Where's the music? Music. BRC, can I see? Random Mind, that's his name. Random Mind. There we go. So everything is from him, because he's doing CC0, which means I can use it on the stream. And I really, really wish all the best to him. So I think I might as well showcase his music and share it. But you know, you know best that his music is pretty cool, right? So headers is undefined. How do I get the so last time we inserted authentication, so we can say who is who. Just for a moment, I actually want to go into my app module and say, here's the guard, please just don't do anything. Because otherwise it takes me another 20 minutes to get into a working state again. So can read property sub of undefined. Oh, that's right. So let's go to T's. Up here, I want to say question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. I think you are defined. Let's fetch, come on, there we go. Okay, so what are we looking at? What are we looking at? So maybe I zoom in a little. In GraphQL, so NestJS makes it really, really simple actually. In particular NestJS together with NestJS GraphQL, this little project. It's not the main page, but anyway, makes it fairly simple to start an API. Where's here? This one I was searching. A GraphQL API. So what you do is you specify what you actually want. In terms of, so it's sending in this case, a request to this /GraphQL endpoint. Usually you would do something like get backslash, I don't know, teas, right? And then it provides you with a list of all the teas that you have, and maybe even do some question mark page equals 1 so that you have pagination. This would be the REST way. The problem is you get way too much oftentimes, right? Like this would give me the name of the tea and the best temperature, all the tags, and also its ID and all the information I don't really care about. GraphQL solves this by you specifying what you actually want. So usually this would look like this. You say, I want the teas, please give me the teas, and give me only the name and the best temperature and the tags and the price, or maybe only the name. And then it provides you only with the name, which is cool, because you avoid overfetching, meaning you get way too many data while you only wanted the specific piece of data. Because we use NestJS GraphQL, we get these two additional levels. But if I, for example, so if I send this request, we see all the teas, and we have its name, best temperature, blah blah blah, in a JSON response, which is good, right? Now, if I get we have an ID on top of this here. If I get the ID, you might, in REST, you often have get autocompletion, get teas / and then you provide the ID, right? So for example, this one, and then you get that specific ID, or all the data to that specific ID. In GraphQL, we can also do that. Typically, what you have is you instead only provide, you say it's only T, and then you say I want to match by ID, and then we need to get rid of all of these things. We prettify, and if I send this, I only get this one data point, right? So this is the equivalent of /t / some specific ID. Let me just make a copy of this and then go back. Because what I can actually do, go over here and do that, and then we have both of them. In fact, I could do something like this. And now we can first get the T's. T, Valerian. Here I get all the T's, and T Valerian now gives me one specific one. So that's cool. Now comes some more advanced stuff. What about filtering? And this is where NestJS query actually shines. Okay, so you reduce the data size of the byte stream instead of getting a big byte stream, and pick the one's properties while deserializing. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. I was just about to switch, so very good. Just in time. It wasn't late. It was just in time. It was legit. Just in time is actually a real thing. There are JIT compilers, and it's also, if you look at Toyota, sorry, not Tokyo, Toyota, they actually produce only just in time. If you call them and say, dude, on my Toyota Corolla, what's the Auspuff? My exhaust pipe, my tailpipe is broken. That's the place and time where they actually start producing it. Only then, only when they have a request that they need to do something. Individual cars can be built to order. You don't do it up front, expecting that somebody might need it. You only do it once the demand is there. Anyway, that aside, so that is lean development and agile. Actually, lean more. Anyway, let's go into filters. Well, actually, one more thing about GraphQL is, so currently I actually choose which request gets sent, right? It's still an HTTP request, so it's actually doing in the background here, we send something, it's doing a post request, as you can see here, and then the post request has some payload, T edges, blah 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 blah. But it's sending always a post request essentially in GraphQL, and most of the time it also always answers with 200, even if there are errors. Be aware of that. So GraphQL, that's not perfectly specified, to be honest. Oh, did it? Interesting. Seriously? Interesting. Yeah, so in here we see now we actually sent the query, and this is, well, some gibberish essentially representing what we have here on the left-hand side, which then gets sent to the backend. The backend again parses it and does the stuff. You don't know. Oh, okay. You're joking. Good. But it might actually be. I can imagine that in the very, very early days of Java, it might have actually not did do just-in-time compilation. But I don't know. Maybe it did. Yeah. So here it sends the query to the backend, and the backend parses it. So or demarshalizes it, passes it into a proper abstract syntax tree, just as you do with TypeScript and so on. Validates it against this schema, so validation is built in, or at least a good degree of validation is built in compared to REST. And then it processes it and sends back only the stuff that it actually needs to. So one interesting part is we can not only send one request, as you would do as you only can do with REST APIs. You can only say, give me the T's. But you cannot say at the same time, give me the T's, and simultaneously give me the one specific Valerian root T. Valerian root. Which is, by the way, Baldrian in German. But in GraphQL you can. So I can just put this inside up here, and now if or maybe let's do it vice versa, because it will be displayed in that order. I say, give me Valerian root and give me all T's actually. Which in particular includes Valerian root, but nevertheless, do that, and it does it. So you see here, this is Valerian root, and inside of the T's, it contains Valerian root again, because it gives me all the T's. Currently we have like four apparently. I think we can do something like page info. Oops, my bad. Not page info. There should be a total count or something like that. Maybe page info total count. No? Somehow you can get the total count. I think you have to enable aggregation or something. NestJS query total count. I think you have to enable something. Soft delete. T for the awesomeness of GraphQL. Yeah! Apparently it doesn't trigger on you. Why not? I thought I adapted it so that it triggers for you guys as well. Weird. Well, yeah, anyway. So the thing that I wanted to do just now was go into the T module, and inside of here there's probably feature for, or is it on the somewhere we have to enable aggregation if I'm not here. But that's only on the enable aggregate. Aggregations. Only fields decorated with filterable field will be exposed in aggregated queries. Is that the right one? I think it is not. It might not be. Some group count. No, I think that's the wrong one. Cursor? No. Page info. There's next page, start page. Pretty sure you can somehow give you the total count of the elements. By the way, all of this can also be found inside here. Total count is not there. Okay, so that says it's not there. We go here. Do we have to do something like here? Implements abstract description. Nope. Authorize TDTO blah 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 blah. Where do we have to actually set that? Here? Create aggregate. Maybe like so. So the server is now regenerating the schema, by the way. And now here we all of a sudden we have aggregates here. So, oh, now we have T aggregate. Interesting. Paging. Further paging first 10. We have total count here, or count or something. Needed count, updated count. Enable total count. Aha. That sounds reasonable, doesn't it? So schema gets generated again as soon as we restart. Or maybe it did already. Although it would need to change some of these. Total count. There we go. Aha. So now we can do total count, and then we can see there are actually 4 inside of here. Yeah, I can count. All right. So what we've seen is that we have that we can actually do multiple within one single request, and this doesn't have to be T's. This could be orders and T's and my user data at the same time, and all of that gets aggregated to me, and only sent in one single request instead of 20. So with NestJS query, just to display that to you, we can actually do some more stuff. For example, filtering. How do I do that? For example, by price, we can say, this must be a number. I think you can say something like this has to be greater than or equal to, let's say, so 12.99 is one, 12.99, 9.99. So let's say greater than 10 euros. Something is complaining. I think I'm missing a parenthesis. Yeah. And if I do that, I should get only 3 results now. Or if I increase this to 14 euros, then bams, we only see matcha. So the filtering is kind of very easily added with the help of this. I think there's also sorting, if I'm not mistaken. Sorting, yeah, for example, by field price, and direction maybe descending. And you see, these are basic, very, very basic things that you see on Amazon, right? If I go to porn mode, because I don't want to see, show you my, my Amazon, Amazon.de, and you go to, for example, food and drinks, you see here, well, usually, you see a lot of stuff, right? Give me 30. Bad user experience. Jumping. Okay, something like that. Yeah, I love them with M's. Here, down here you can filter, like, for example, how many stars does this have? How the price, which you can also provide here, and all of that we can already map with pretty much no code at all. If you look at our T's thing, we have this, which is the database stuff, and we have this module, and we have this DTO, and that's all the code we need to do the filtering. Yeah, so these filter functions are very, very natural. Full text search is more complicated, I can already tell you. Full text search is more complicated, but a basic search isn't too hard. We can actually do that as well. With, for example, come on. So we provide a filter, and we want to match by name actually. And to enable that, we need to say that the TDTO, this name field, is actually a filterable field. Now the schema gets regenerated, and in just a second we should have it. There we go. So now name should autocomplete. There we go. And this has to be, let's say, like, or maybe I like casing sensitive like, and then you provide something like percent bell. And it should now match Valerian root. SQLite doesn't support it. Damn it. I haven't added a proper database yet. Maybe we can use like. Yeah, like does work. Oh, and it actually also does the case sensitive like. Perfect. Very good. Excuse me. Yeah, so with that we basically have a search functionality without doing much. So for example, for somebody looks for pepper and finds peppermint. Bams. So what you would do is you put this fun stuff into the search field, or from a front-end perspective where you actually write the code, which we will do at some point. You would do a template string with user input or search. Yeah. And this is then your like name like filter, right? In JavaScript. But we're not yet on the front end. We do have a basic app, but today we are doing mostly the backend fun stuff, and then we get back to the front end. The front end can basically currently just log in, sign up, log in, and so on, but it cannot actually handle anything. You feel motivated to implement a small product to get some practical GraphQL experience. Great! Feel free to try NestJS. It does have a learning curve, but it's a framework that's very much in trend. It does have a learning curve, but I must again say is, in particular, to get to this point here, it was super simple. You can get there in an hour if you really push for it. And their documentation is really good, because at the sidelines, it provides you with the setup pretty much. On the sidelines, you see here recipes for GraphQL, or if you're interested in WebSockets, you can see recipes here for WebSockets. Man, this this hiccup is really getting on my nerves. Yeah, I'm not saying it's the only way. Particularly, it has a lot of things sitting on top of each other. But you can start with a simple one or with a basic one, and then start looking into each one, into each piece individually, I would say. So that's perfectly valid. Getting back here. So what we did is actually we didn't create anything on the T stuff. What we actually did is we have a new endpoint order and orders, which is currently empty. Start off with GraphQL, you might find Hasura IO easier. Hasura is hosted, right? Oh, apparently I did already look at it. Yeah. Yeah. It's similar. How do you know? So first of all, viable clan member, welcome back in. Do you know how it compares to? Just today, I had it on my Anki cards. Let me give just a sec. Oh, something is already listening there. Not with Prisma, but with... come on. I should remember. I had it just today. GraphQL. Step then. Building GraphQL API in minutes. This is one that I've also heard of. Yeah, they are a lot, right? You haven't heard of Step then. I think it was once in... Was it? In a stream of Jason Lengstorff. Learn with Jason. If I remember correctly. But I might be wrong. GraphQL Mesh. I think that one was on a stream as well. Oh, it's not. Yeah, there are a lot of things that you can do, definitely. The GraphQL stuff is still expanding. It's getting there, definitely. So the maybe viable clan member, you can so many toys to play with. Absolutely. It's fun. It's also hard. Yeah. It's fun, but it can also be pretty overwhelming. GraphQL scalars I would be careful with, because you can actually cause yourself to be vulnerable to injection attacks. But using a SQL database also opens up that option. Yeah, Hasura is pretty big. There is a very they have one of the best guide on handling JWTs. I only recently read that, particular with GraphQL. They have one of the best guides on that. It doesn't really matter whether it's GraphQL, to be honest. I just saw that it's about GraphQL. But it is a really good guide about handling so the authentication tokens, authorization and authentication tokens that you want. This is a really good guide, showing a lot of things that can go wrong and how to do them better. Anyway, what did you link? Antima. That's the dude from GraphQL Cogen, right? Yeah, I think that's him. What is GraphQL ESLint? ESLint parser plugin and set of rules for the schema. Yeah, okay. Is that built in? Do you know whether that's built in GraphQL Cogen? Because as far as I remember, Cogen just breaks if you have it wrong, which is pretty much very similar, let's say. That gate is good, yeah. That's why it's also really important not to store JWT on the client, say via cookies or local storage. You have to do it somewhere, right? They might go a bit too far, but they do explain, or you kind of know where they're getting from, right? If you read the guide. Anyway, we did add just now the orders DTO, although we don't really have a way to create one, because we have to write that ourselves in just a minute. Right now, what we can do, because what I want to do is to enable aggregation, enable total count. That's what I want. Do I have to do this on every single one? Is there not a root one, app module, GraphQL code auth module, type-aware module, enable. Apparently there isn't. Exclamation mark help. We don't have a help command. What are you looking for? We do have. You might be looking for this one. I'm not sure whether that's up to date, by the way. It's auto-generated from stream elements. It might work, it might not. Or if you want to see the to-dos, what we're doing is we want to have orders of T. So as a user, I can make orders of T, kind of shop-oriented, what we're building here. For learning mostly. Not that I would love to have a T shop, to be honest. I would probably be the best customer. Then again, I probably wouldn't, because I'm on the catchy side, like catchy in the Japanese sense. I don't even know the English word. Geizig. I'm miserly. Yeah, I'm a miser. So edges, node, and then we can get, for example, the ID, the user ID, and the status, and some order items. It should be order items with an S. So that's definitely wrong. Oh, interesting. Does this need to be an S, and then we say array? Nullable, true. No, what we want is, I think what we want, I tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really want, really, really want. I wanna really, 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 really. I think something like this. Okay, let's leave those out for now. Just so we get something running. Page info we don't need. What I want is somewhere here I need the total count. There we go. Currently it's empty. Please check your connection. Oh, we broke it. No fields found to create GraphQL filter for order DTO. Because we do not allow filtering. So let's say we do want to filter. We do want to filter by status. A filterable field. There we go. And yeah. Now does it work again? Well, you post too many. Ellen, what's chill step? Yeah, is the music hearable? Yeah, it is, right? Because Maze, you said that it is hearable. You were talking about it. So currently it's empty. It is hearable a bit. Can increase the sound ever so slightly. I did try to normalize the audio, but I cannot promise that the audio normalizer actually did its job. I hope it did. So currently it's empty. We want to probably have a mutation. And GraphQL is split into two parts. One is mutations and one is queries. In queries, it's basically the get part, and mutations is basically delete, create, and update. Should login be a mutation or query? Yeah, I would say it's more of a mutation. But that's a good question. If you're actually changing something, like saving session tokens, then it's probably a mutation. If it's only a JWT, I would say it's a mutation, because you, in a sense, at least your front-end system changes. Not necessarily your back-end, but your front-end does change, because all of a sudden you have all the access to the endpoints. What do you think? Should it be a mutation or a query? So let's say orders here. Create order, maybe. Create order. And then we can create one order, for example. And we provide some input. We provide some order. And now this becomes wrong. So currently it just takes the whatever we have on the DTO, it provides us here in the list as well. But we do not want to provide an ID. This is handled by the backend, by the database. You have a harder query. Question takes a go for. You would query to load the question. Are you testing me or or what? You would query to load the question and answer is right. But if there is a view count, how to increment that? On query, do I have this right? Okay. You would query to load the question and answers. Okay, so you have a use case like Stack Overflow. You would query to load the questions and answers. But if there's a view count, how to increment that? On query, on separate mutation, I don't know. That's a good point. It's a good point. So strictly speaking, let's start there. If it's a query, it should be a query. So what I would think about is having it instead as a middleware and not saving it directly and asynchronously even. Not saving it directly on the entity. Although then probably load time gets annoying. Highly paid senior position. Strictly speaking, query would not allow it, and you would need to use mutation. Monad, good to see you. I'm not 100% sure where I've seen you before. It's either Jason Langstorff or it is Infinite Stream. Or is it in InstaFluff? If I could remember. You did stream a couple of times. Was I joining your streams? Was I? I might actually have joined your streams as well. Anyway, good to see you. Hello there. How are you doing? We currently have the kind of hard question. Maybe if you cannot see the chat anymore because you've just joined, we have the hard question that you kind of have Stack Overflow or think Stack Overflow. You have questions and answers, but you want to have a view count. How would you implement that? In particular, since we're talking GraphQL currently, how would you do that? One idea is to do it while you actually query. which is not clean, right? Because you change the system while you query. But then again, you do see REST APIs where you do the get endpoint, even though that's also not clean. And if it's a view counter, you still increase it. Another way would be to have it like a middleware-ish type, where you collect views of one specific thing, and then from time to time, I don't know, every 5 seconds you commit that, for example, to the entity, database entity. Or would you actually do a query at the same time the front end also sends a separate mutation to increase the view count, which, if somebody forgets it, would mean you do not increase the view count. So you would have to have some form of human take care of remembering that while you code this, you actually have to also send the separate mutation to increase the view count. All of these, I would say, all of these are valuable approaches. The question becomes, what is the one that least compromises your architecture while still fulfilling your use case, assuming your use case is valid and provides value, and so on and so on and so on. And so on. Because for some, if you want a view count, it's more complicated. But if you have the like button, or if in case of Stack Overflow, right, you have this button. This is absolutely what do you want to say? A mutation, right? It's a specific action from the backend, from the front end, that you want to change the system. This one there is probably not a perfect answer here. Sorry for the switch. Is there a way to set Stack Overflow to dark mode? There's probably not a perfect answer. You were also stuck on this. Yeah. It's not a simple question. Currently the song is not coming through. Okay. I would say least compromising is not a bad attitude.
__ joined our tea time.
Oh, so first of all, Monad, thank you so much for joining the tea time, and welcome Finite for the raid. Whoop whoop. with the Clark UIs doing the doing the thing. Actually, my muscles in my eyes are not strong enough to do this 20 times in a row. So, shout out to Finite. I'm never sure. Do I have to write you in capitals or in small letters? Small letters. Okay. Very good. So shout out to Finite. He's amazing. I think today he was working on his day job, which is always amazing to see production level code, which he is allowed to stream because it's his company, and he has a good relationship to his client. To see that in action, you banged your head on the wall for 2 hours. I was about to ask how was it going. So today I think you were working on how you have an iOS app, right? And you want to upload, for example, images, but the people that use your app are kind of they are on a schedule, right? So they just click the upload button and then they close their phone, or they switch to a different app even before the upload has finished. And that seems to be kind of a difficult problem, which I can imagine. Backload uploading of images. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the backend stuff I remember from the I did develop an Android app, not on things can be different on iOS. But I can say doing background stuff is also not super easy there as well. Yeah. Viable Clan bring some more ideas. This is amazing. I love that. I love that people come together here on Twitch and discuss the problems that they have. It's basically like a little meetup. As soon as more than one person is there, because I do still have enough streams where I'm basically where I'm basically streaming on my own. But I'm very happy that today we are currently 26 people. Can you believe it? By the way, so everybody check out Finite. He's amazing. He's also a friend of the stream, and you find me there as well. We did just talk, Finite, if you have some time. We did just talk about a question from Viable Clan member, because we're doing NestJS and GraphQL today. Say you have a just I need to Mace being up for getting hired. That would be amazing as well. If you get the job, feel free to subscribe. the €3 you have to pay, or €4, I don't know, you have to pay, it's definitely worth it. That you got the job thanks to our stream. Okay, so Finite, or all the people from Finite, we have a very interesting question here from Viable Clan member. The question is, so think Stack Overflow. So you have these, where are we? Stack Overflow, where did you go? Control-Shift-T. You have this viewed count. In a GraphQL, you very strictly divide between queries, things that should not, strictly speaking, should not change your system, besides some logging and the regular stuff, and mutations, things that create things, change your system in any way. Now, a view count, because you do want to get the data, but at the same time you pretty much don't really change the entity that it is attached to, right? So one idea, Viable Clan member, that while I was explaining this, so the question is view count, how do we implement the view count? And while I was explaining this again, for the second time now, one idea is, even though it might compromise slightly, is to, instead of having queries, you only have mutations. And the mutation is basically 99% a query, but it is changing the view count. It might be something to consider. It might be something to consider. If I'm thinking now about more complex REST API endpoints, Usually you would say you have your get, and then you have a via query parameters. You have something like get slash tease slash or question mark filter equals I don't know, name equals something like Valerian. But what I've seen in a couple of places is that when these queries get very, very complicated, then people switch over to a post slash tease and maybe post slash get tease with a JSON endpoint of with a JSON object of for example name like, and then you say percent where's my percent, like I don't know, bell. So I've seen that. This is not a valid JSON. think this. Sorry. I've seen that instead, and it's basically just a get endpoint. But because the query object gets so complicated, the filtering gets so complicated, you've seen people use this. The problem with get is you're absolutely right. You should not use post with for getting stuff, but you cannot include a JSON in get. That's not possible. If I'm not mistaken, it supports the body too. Does it? Interesting. Because this is not a pattern that this is not a one-time thing that I've seen. But I did see in multiple places. But very interesting. Get body. Get request body. So I suppose you're right. I suppose you're right. Yeah. So he's doing RESTful web service, exactly the use case. When he's doing a get, he basically wants to filter, if I see this correctly. They can add these parameters in the string. Alternatively, I want to specify in the parameters in the request body. So HTTP 1.1 does not explicitly forbid this. So it is possible. Oh, here's one interesting thing. So it would be against the RFC apparently about so according to this person, I can just send you this maybe. It would be, this part would be against the RFC of HTTP, is what he's of get. If the request body does not include defined semantics for an entity body, then the body should be ignored. Okay, there's the condition. If the request method does not include defined semantics for an entity body, defined by the request URI. So the body is not part of the identification of the resource in a get, which then means it does not include defined semantics, which means the body should be ignored. But it's good to know. It's good to know that it is theoretically at least possible, although it doesn't quite fit the this RFC then anymore. Then again, post for getting stuff is also not very RESTful. The question is then which specification do you follow? I don't think there is an official REST app RFC. Is there? I don't think there is. REST RFC. Code representation. REST. There might be. Constrained RESTful environments. There's. Okay. There is. Good. IEEE. There's at least something. That was for HTTP 1.0. This is 1.1 spec. This is 1.1 spec. DigitalOcean.
DigitalOcean TV joined
Wow.
our tea time.
Are you the official DigitalOcean, like the cloud provider? Welcome to the stream. We are discussing currently an interesting question, which seems to be fairly basic. Wow. Welcome, DigitalOcean. Yeah. So if you don't know what, if some people don't know what DigitalOcean is, so it's a cloud provider, similar to AWS or Azure or Google Cloud Platform and so on and so on. I think they are very well known for also their developer friendliness. I haven't worked with them personally. I did read a lot of their documentation because they have a pretty good blog. So I can definitely recommend that one. There's some quality stuff in there. Yeah, so if you have some stuff, apparently there's also doing some. Apparently you can start for free with $100. And I suppose, but correct me if I'm wrong, there's probably also a free tier. I can imagine. Plus receive free access to these services. Yeah, see. Because the good thing for a developer these days is that they are the cloud providers. I'm sorry, don't blame me. Don't hate me if I say this. But cloud providers have very hard. They are fighting for the customers. Because if a company decides to go with a cloud provider, they are very much locked into the ecosystem. It's hard. It is possible, absolutely, it is possible to switch a cloud provider, but it's also very, very hard. And it's risky. If you have your production on there, you don't just want to switch without thinking about it. Particular, there's also learning curve and so on and so on and so on. So if if a cloud provider locks you in, locks your company in, you are there for a couple of months, and a couple of months means a couple of €1,000 for the cloud provider. And the good thing for a developer nowadays, you can try these services pretty much for free. Same for all the others, AWS and Google Cloud and so on, which is cool. Don't hate me, please. The perfect unlocked solution. Rancher 2 installed on DigitalOcean droplets. Then you have your own private cloud running on the top of K8s. And I say K8s instead of Kubernetes. It's painful. I've been with Linode for years and I'm having a few issues with them lately. You're talking about the pain of switching cloud providers. Yeah, if you run on one, for example, if you're on, so I can mostly talk about AWS and a bit of Heroku. But for example, if you're running on AWS with your own virtual private cloud, VPC, and you have your database inside of there, if you now want to switch, you cannot just move the services away. You cannot just move the application containers away. It's possible, but the problem is you cannot get to the database anymore. So yeah. And the database is always in a private network, so you would need to set up some proxying, which is not good for data security, and so on and so on and so on. There are hosted services, but then you have a hard delay because you go over the internet and you let's say the database services are in let's say Stockholm, and most of my customers and my servers are in Frankfurt. Then you are always, for every database request, you have to do this. How many kilometers? 300, 400, 600 maybe kilometers of internet connection for every single database connection. So having the database next to your application is also nice. Yeah. So finite knows the pain. Then again, the cloud providers also make it very. They migrate then you can be practicing your emergency scenario. Yeah, but first of all, you have to have some emergency scenario plans. And a lot of companies don't. Yeah, so then again, a lot of companies also allow you to migrate away, or they give you tools to migrate your database on the fly to somewhere. You see that also so currently we're using Cognito, AWS Cognito. And what you can do, well, it's the same for Auth0. I know that for sure. One of the interesting features is that you can, suppose you have an existing user database. How do you integrate Cognito? Because it does provide a lot of services and benefits compared to a self-hosted user API. So how do you migrate now? And it allows you to migrate basically on the fly. You have you put in a function as a service, a Lambda function in AWS. And with that, you can actually, each time somebody logs in, it actually goes to your, if it can't find it on Cognito, it goes to your database. At least that's how Auth0 works. In Cognito, I haven't tried it myself, but I suppose it's similar. So when it tries to find the user on Cognito and it doesn't find it, it first goes back to your database via the help of this migration service. So your existing user database, and it tries to find it there and then copies over all the data and then authenticates the user. So next time the user wants to log in, it immediately finds it in Cognito. And basically the entry inside of your database, existing database, has become obsolete. And you have to replace it with the one in Cognito. Or you do the Big Bang, but Big Bangs are always. Okay, man, this was an interesting discussion. Thanks for the question, Viable Clan member. That came out of it, and also thanks for joining all of the people from Finite and also DigitalOcean TV. So getting back, we're doing NestJS. NestJS being a TypeScript framework that sits on top of Express.js typically. You can also use it with Fastify, but we use it with NestJS. So, and we can already, with the help of so our current tech stack is NestJS, NestJS GraphQL, TypeORM, and NestJS Query. You want to check that out. Very, very easy to get started. What we have is this API where we can we have the teas, we can get the ID, the name, the best temperature, the tags, and the price of the tea. We can do filtering, we can do sorting, we can do and by different fields and so on. I think we can also look for specific tags, for example, tags includes, or I don't know, like maybe. Then we say, there's the % sign. There we go. Like, I don't know, fresh. And we get peppermint. Or we get grassy maybe. But that didn't work. My query is wrong. There we go. There we go. We get green tea, which is grassy, depending on how long you steep it. By the way, cheers everybody. And first of all, good job. So that's what we have. We just added the order stuff. What we cannot do, and currently it's empty. What we cannot do currently is creating new orders. And that's what I wanted to do. What we have to do so is create a order.input, or I think create minus order.input. Maybe let me zoom out just ever so slightly and copy from the T input, and we just change this into create order input. This is an input type, so inside of Nest, a lot of stuff, finite and finite viewer might know this from Angular, because a lot of the NestJS stuff is actually inspired by Angular, and I think it's AngularJS, so Angular 1 mostly, not the newer versions, but I'm not sure which one actually. We can now say we want to pick specific properties from the order DTO. For example, the user ID. Now things get interesting. We probably have to provide some more information here to do that. So now when we have this, let's link this up first. Inside of our module, we can say in here, so the create DTO class is now this create order, create DTO, create order input. And now the schema, the GraphQL schema, should have changed ever so slightly, and it should now, so it not only has now the user ID as its input. So let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we can pick something like the user ID and the status and the, I don't know, the ID. And we still have to think about order item. Thinking about this, I think we have to change the order entity ever so slightly, because this one, the order status by default should be in created. Thank you. So if I do this, I now get a new order for user 1, 2, 3, status created, and the ID of this order is this complicated thingy. If I look at all of these, this looks goodish. Now, Let me think for a second. One thing that where I wanted to go is have an automated filter, authorization filter, because a user should of course only see his own orders. If I log into Amazon, I don't want to see Finite's orders. Well, maybe I do want to see it, but it's probably not in the interest of Finite, right? So from a security and compliance and also interest perspective, I only want to see the stuff that is my own. So the simple way to do this, but it's not secure, absolutely not, is we can filter for it, like so. We say, okay, maybe not status, but I think if we go to the DTO, we can make this. So the order DTO is what's get the read. DTO, by the way, stands for data transfer object. So it's what gets sent over HTTP essentially. We can make this into a filterable field, and all of a sudden we can filter by, as soon as this reloads, all of a sudden we can use user ID, and I can say give me all the stuff for I think I need to use equals user ID 1234, and I see the same. If I take a different one, I should see empty. Perfect. This is of course not secure, and the way to make this secure is actually by us using the information that we get from the authentication, the JWT. This is now going to be more interesting. In theory, what we can do is we can say add authorize here, which comes from NestJS query, and we give it an authorize function. And let me look at the T entity, TDTO, sorry, just to see how this looks again. I think the auto completion actually works. So, I mean, TypeScript actually works. So the context is actually of type any, which is not ideal. But other than that, it looks promising. So what we get is the context. We have to provide a type for this. The type of this is going to be, so it has a request, it has a user, hopefully, and this should be authenticated endpoint, so I would say it has one, but currently we don't. So there's probably a to-do for that. And then we have the sub, I think, which is a string. And then we can return something, and the return value is a filter object. So what we can do is we say the user ID should equal context.request.user.sub, and we need the question mark, or otherwise I think empty string, I suppose. So the question mark meaning this might be undefined. Type also says this. So let's see how this works. If we take out the filter, currently I have switched off authentication. So that at least runs thanks to this one. I think it breaks. Oh, okay. TypeScript even complains. Okay. Well, because I have this here, right? Harry Hawkinson.
Harry_Hopkinson joined our tea time.
Welcome to the tea time. Cheers. This tea is all for you. have any of those, or maybe all of them, all of those 30 cups that you saw. Does it send? No, it doesn't. It sends a lot of emojis, right? So, Harry, how are you doing? How's it going? What are you working on? We are currently working on authorization with GraphQL, with NestJS, with NestJS query, and all of this fun stuff to get this running. And we kind of building a tea shop. Being the TypeScript tea time, of course, we sell tea. And we've just added the orders. We don't have users yet, in a sense. We do have them with the help of AWS Cognito, an external, or how do I say this? A hosted identity provider, essentially. So, what we maybe can see here. If I do this, it returns everything because it just defaults to empty string, which is interesting. If I put 1, 2, 3 here, it should also provide the same. If I provide 1, 2, 3 here, it should now provide nothing. It doesn't. Interesting. Do I need this? Maybe I just provide it like this. Is that it? No, it still provides everything. How did that work? So what it should do, it should basically just apply a filter, but instead of doing it on the API, we do it in the backend. Instead of doing it in the front end manually, we do it in the backend, the place where we have control. In the front end, everybody could just not send it, sending us a curl or something, and then receive all the orders for every single user, which is of course not what we want, because probably our legal department will say, don't do that. And I don't like when my legal department says, don't do that. So what I want is to have this properly filtered. Question is, why does it not do the thing? Why are you not doing the thing? Let me maybe go to here, into the docs, and then we see add authorized somewhere. There it is. Add authorized decorator. So it should equal. So we need another object here, EQ. And then all of this fun stuff. First of all, let's make sure this is actually run. Context, maybe. Request.user. Yeah, so what other things are you guys working on? I'm very, very interested in hearing about it. Something is not working the way I want it. Is this actually restarting? It is restarting, but it doesn't log anything. Interestingly. Const x equals 5. Let's put in instead. Do we have the debug command already? Start debug. That looks good. Y start : debug. So now if we trigger this, it doesn't run the authorization. Why does it not run the authorization? Because we're not on the GraphQL level. That's the simple answer. I'm here on the entity. So I need to take this and move it over to the DTO. This is the GraphQL level. And I say add authorized inside of here, bams. It needs to, I think it needs to have this add object type to at least recognize the add authorized. And now things get interesting. Should the order should be like this, right? Maybe it doesn't matter, maybe it does matter in this case. So if I do this again now, we get empty. In particular, we get here, and now user is undefined, unfortunately. But it does filter by 1, 2, 3. If we do 1, 2, 3, 4 here, we should get our results back. Let me just restart regularly. This time we should get all the results. There we go. So you might see how this becomes interesting, because now, for example, we don't only have a sub, maybe we have a role or roles, some kind of user roles, maybe an enum roles, which is admin, which is, I don't know, customer, and I don't know, product, admin, or seller, or something. You could, for example, inside of here, depending on the role, you could, for example, show everything. If it's an admin, show everything. If it's instead a normal user, only show the stuff that is relevant to the user. In the case of orders, we probably want to only have the specific user that created the orders to also see them. But maybe if you're also building a back office, you actually also want to have like support. Yeah, maybe support is another one. Support. You want to have support being able to see those orders so they can make adjustments or resend them or something. And all of that pretty much, at least on the read and also actually on the write level, with the help of this authorize header, which is pretty cool, I find. The question is, how do these roles come in? And this gets more complicated because we are using Cognito. So you have to set them in Cognito. Or you have a copy of a user and you load that, blah, 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 and everything gets complicated. I would prefer to be in Cognito as well. So let's try to get this one working. Which means, so for the time being, I will just stage everything. Then I go into the app module and re-enable, oh, that was a bit too much. This one. Re-enable the authorization guard that we have. So what does this thing do? Well, it doesn't tell you much from here, but as you can maybe see here, it's checking for authorization with the help of a JWT, which comes from Cognito. And we built that last week. So Cognito JWT strategy, where it's validating the JWT that comes from Cognito, which is sent from the front end sends us the JWT from Cognito. And we validate and verify that this is actually really from Cognito, from the Cognito, the identity provider that we trust, that we love and trust. And then we take the information that is inside of that token and put it on the request, so we can actually use it in the authorization header. This one. So this sub is currently not there. Now, if I try to do something now, it's broken because I don't have a token. The question becomes, how do I put the token? How do I put the token? Yeah, now we get unauthorized, unauthenticated. Oh, yeah. I was confused for a moment. So, unauthenticated is the modern term, which means you are not logged in. Unauthorized means you don't have the permissions. You are logged in, but you don't have the permissions to look at this resource. The problem is HTTP is quite a bit old. So HTTP 401, which is actually you are not logged in, is called unauthorized. And the other one is 403, forbidden. So this one is actually the modern unauthorized. 401 is unauthenticated. NestJS actually puts the modern term on the response error response. Okie dokie. So now we have to get this one running. This is going to be interesting. Somehow, maybe, ever so maybe. So it's okay if I show the JWT. I don't care. It's old and expired anyway, and it's a test user, and I don't care. So if I go to post /GraphQL, and actually I want to do this request because now we can take the payload from here and put it right there. And we can also take a few of these headers. Particularly, we have the authorization header here. Oh, it's apparently oh, damn. It is sending the authorization header already. Is that the right one? Maybe it's just expired. Oh, that's annoying. I do think we need something like content type application /JSON. Thank you. Don't need that one. So this probably won't work either because we actually already include the authorization header in here. I don't know where we do that, but I'm happy that we do. The next question then becomes, why is that token invalid? We can probably go into our auth guard, Cognito. So have you guys worked on the authentication part somewhere before? Ignore valid expiration false. Maybe that's the issue here. Fetch. Yes, it works. It works. So let us now things get interesting. So I can re-enable this one. I probably don't want to commit this one, so to do it's like on production this should be false. Otherwise once you have the token, tokens don't expire anymore. Which is of course bad. So but for the time being, let's just do this because it makes testing so much simpler. Probably don't want to commit this. Now what's next? Let's go into the order again. Where's my order detail? Right here. There we go. And now sub is actually always defined. Oh, save. Now sub is always defined. So now this should result in empty because my current user ID is some pretty much random value which looks similar to this one, a UUID. It's definitely not 1, 2, 3, 4. We can actually look at it. What is my sub? If we go to jwt.io, we can paste this here into the debugger and see my current ID is my sub. There we go. This is my sub. So 319 something something, some UUID. Definitely not 1, 2, 3. So if I now get all the orders, I get empty array because no order matches 1, 2, 3, 4. I probably also want to get rid of the input DTOs. Input, where are you? The user ID. I don't actually want to provide that anymore. It cannot be. Does that work? So this one seems to be now an empty object simply. Server is not reloaded yet. It's probably breaking now. Yeah, okay. So we need to... okay, let's just say user ID for the time being. And now if I set this one specifically to my... Oh darn, I closed it, right? Yeah, I did close it. I need the UUID now, my user ID. Give me that, put it there, take this, close that one. Now, if I put this inside of here, and I get now all the orders, I should match exactly this one. There it is. So we have authorization covered. Now, I think that's a milestone, definitely. So T for everybody. Good job, everybody. Now, one thing that we probably don't want to do is just create random orders for my neighbor, or I create an order for Mace. Mace is great, or for somebody else. So what I probably want is that it's not automatically that it's adding the user ID from somewhere else. And the order DTO is simply or does something interesting, probably. Looking at the time, we're already 2.5 hours in. So we have two things to do. I think this is the place where we stop for today. So to do, one thing is add order items. And the second thing to do is create remove user ID from external or from input, instead load it from or derive it from the current user, essentially. So these two to-dos we have, and I think this is where I want to stop for today. This was a very, very fun stream, and we did get done quite a bit. So I will just say this is a feature episode 48. We have orders, basic orders filtered by current user, or basic add orders, stop, because it's not finished yet. So actually it's a work in progress. Let's just call it feed for now. And then user can only see her own orders. And I think we commit this, we push this, and you can find everything up on the GitHubs up there. Episode 44 apparently. Episode 43 or 45 is also interesting because that's the front end part and the Cognito part. So thank you so much everybody for joining. Let's see who we can rate. If you've liked what you've seen, feel free to leave a follow. We also, by the way, we have a little game that we can play on stream. So when some more people are there, it's actually, you can invoke that with the help of only 220 points, channel points, which is 1 hour of watching. Let me see who we can rate here. Instafluff is online. So let's go to him and say hi. Also a friend. And yeah, so thank you everybody. Hope to see you next time in the TypeScript tea time. Bye, enjoy your tea. And now we just have to wait 5 more seconds.